Okay, this second part of the lecture, actually I've done it, but I forgot to record it. So this will be to supplement the earlier video that I have earlier on. Okay, so let me go back to the lecture again. I'm going reach the end. Let me go back to the parts that I was where I stopped earlier on. Okay, so this is part two. Part two. I just stopped at part one just now, as far as coding is concerned, but I continued until the end of the Panama slides, and I realized that I did not record it. Okay, so let me check again to make sure the recording is on. Okay, it is on now. Okay, so let me start all over again. Yeah. All right. So the second part is more or less to complement the earlier part of the lecture on the role of technology in economic growth, particularly with respect to the solo models of economic growth we've seen earlier on. Okay. All right. Go faster now. So technology is the driving force for economic growth. I'm showing you here the diagram relationship between socioeconomic development, accessibility, and exposure to technology adoption and diffusion. So basically, um, there are some positive factors, yeah, some positive impact factors which influence socioeconomic development, and also some negative factors which influence ataupun negatively influence socioeconomic development in the country. But the idea also here is that with better exposure and accessibility to technologies, will enhance socio-economic development of a country. So it works both ways. Either a country which is well developed, socio-economically well developed, will have better access for technology, IT exposure, and so on. The other way of looking at it is that with better accessibility and exposure to technology, that will help to improve the socio-economic development of a particular country. The other thing is the adoption and diffusion technologies, the use of that for human development. So the influence of Panama technology, the exposure, the accessibility will also influence human development of a particular country as well. Okay. All right. So this is a graph showing the impact of technology on economic growth, right? For example, with the addition of the technology, you can have higher return, yeah, higher, in other words, GDP, yeah, per capita with the use of technology ataupun with technological innovation. Okay, so the aggregate function actually we have seen earlier on, yeah. It describes how the total real gross GDP ataupun real GDP in an economy depends on several inputs. Among those inputs are physical capital, of course, yeah, we've seen earlier on, labor, human capital, knowledge. Knowledge here is the technological or technology that we're talking about. Yeah, scientific knowledge that helps to improve production. Other than that, there are also social infrastructure also will have an impact, whether or not the country is conducive enough for business, yeah, to operate in the country and so on, yeah. Whether there is legal and the cultural environments are good ataupun conducive. Yeah. The other thing is the more natural resources we have in the country, the more the better it is. Yeah, because that will also help in the apa nama in the economic growth in the countries, assuming that it is utilized, yeah, or the resources are utilized for for economic growth activities. Anything else which are not included, yeah. So these other inputs other than labor, physical and human capital together, we can call them technology. Yeah. All right. So so this is in picture and graph, yeah, showing the aggregate function, yeah, as a result of the influence of technology, okay, on growth, yeah, output ataupun GDP, yeah, with use of technology level 1 to level 2, for example, yeah. With better technology, better human capital, and so on, yeah, you can improve, you can increase production. Okay. Okay, so some of the key properties of this aggregate function, production function, is that number one, first of all, the output increases when there are increases in physical capital, increases in labor, and also natural resources. In other words, the marginal products of these inputs, ya, ataupun NPK tadi, are all positive. Yeah, that's one. Secondly, the increase in output from adding more inputs is lower when we have more of a factor. For example, we add more capital or add more labor, any additional increase in labor or any additional increase in capital, we have marginal, will have diminishing return, yeah, on each of these additional product, each of these input, yeah. So diminishing returns ataupun marginal, diminishing marginal product. In other words, the more capital we have, the less additional output we obtain from the additional capital. Ataupun the more labor we have, the less additional output we obtain from the additional labor. And the same thing with natural resources. The more natural resources we have, the less additional output we obtain from any additional resources we put in. Okay. So in addition, also increases in output can also come from increases in human capital or knowledge and also social infrastructure. So in contrast to capital and labor, we do not assume that there are diminishing returns to human capital in technology, right? So there is no diminishing returns to human capital and technology. One reason is that we do not have natural or obvious measure of human capital. That's the issue lah. Right? We do not have an obvious measure for human capital. How do you measure human capital? How do you measure knowledge and so on? Yeah, or social infrastructure, right? Whereas we do have measure for labor and capital. For example, hours of work or hours of capital usage. Right? So in many applications, we want to understand how this aggregate production function would respond to variations in technology or other inputs. So this is can be illustrated in the next page, yeah, where you can see here that an increase in, for example, technology means that for a given level of capital stock or capital, more output is produced. Yeah. So the production function, as you can see from here, shifted upward. Yeah, as technology increases. At the same time, as technology increases, the production function becomes steeper. Right. So as you can see from here, compared to this one, it's steeper. Yeah. the increased technology increases the marginal product of capital. Yeah? So the aggregate function, production function also allows us to determine the output of an economy given inputs of capital, labor, human capital, and technology. Okay, so let's look at, for example, in agriculture, use of agriculture ataupun technical progress in agriculture. For example, you can increase production with the use of technology. Yeah, so farmers can produce more with the use of technology. Yeah, given the same amount of labor, for example. Yeah? So technological progress increases the amount of grain produced in a given number of hours. For example, the use of machine or machinery for harvesting, for plowing, and so on and so forth. Yeah? So notice that the new production function, which is red in color, is steeper compared to the original one down here. Yeah. So the new technology, for example, has been able to increase the marginal product of labor, whereby at every point an additional hour of work produces more grain. Yeah, itu as far as grain is concerned, but also in other agriculture also the same thing impact there. Okay, so we look at the importance of technology to development. It has in relatively recent years, technology has been regarded as the primary source or for economic development, and the various technological changes contribute positively, yeah, and significantly in the development of underdeveloped countries as well. Yeah. So the level of technology is also important, an important determinant of economic growth. In other words, it influences the economic growth of a country. So the rapid rate of growth can be achieved through high level of technology. Right? Example, Schumpeter, economist, yeah, observed that the innovation or technological progress is the only determinant, the only factor of economic progress. But if the level of technology becomes constant, the process of growth stops. So what he is doing is to emphasize the importance of technology. Technology can promote growth, but if you don't the use technology is very low or zero, then growth also stop ataupun zero growth. Yeah. So it is the technological progress which keeps the economy moving, yeah, or moving forward, moving upward. Yeah. Inventions and innovations have been largely responsible for the rapid economic growth, particularly in the developed countries. But unfortunately for developing countries, things have not been quite as positive as it was in the developed countries. Yeah. So the growth of net national income in developed countries cannot be claimed to have been due to capital alone. Right. So, for example, Kindleberger in 2013, he observed that major part of increased productivity is attributed to or due to technological progress or changes. Yeah, and also the Robert Solow, sorry, who came up with the Solow's model of growth. He also estimated that technological change also accounted for about 2/3, yeah, more than 60% of the growth of the U.S. economy. yeah, after allowing for growth in the labor force and also capital stocks. In other words, even if they have growth in capital stock and labor force, that will also increase the growth in the economy. Nah. But with technology, they can achieve even more. Yeah. So 2/3 of the growth is counted for by technology. So technology can be regarded as the primary source in economic development, and the various technological changes, yeah, contribute significantly in the development of underdeveloped countries. But having said that, some studies also indicate that there are differences between the impact of technology between in the developed and the developing countries or underdeveloped countries. Okay. Okay, so let's look at the topic of technological change ataupun teknologi lah, technical progress. Yeah? So technology is simply defined as the sum of knowledge of the means. Yeah? Sum of knowledge of the means and methods of producing goods and services. So it covers so many aspects, yeah, of means of production and methods of production. Okay? So technical change ataupun TC can be defined as an increase in the output possible given a level of inputs to the process invention, and also diffusion. Okay, so for example, things like automobiles, um, handphones or smartphones, computer, laptops, wind turbines, and so on, yeah, are some examples of technological changes. Okay? So in economics, technological change refers to an increase in efficiency of product or process, which results in an increase in output, yeah, without increasing the input. Okay. So in other words, someone who invents or improves a product or process, which is then used to get bigger reward for the same amount of work. Okay? In other words, that person can produce more, so deserve better wage, a better salary, and so on. Yeah, better earnings. Okay, so so the technological change include new products, yeah, introduction of new products, changes in methods and organization of production, changes in the quality of resources and products, changes in the new ways or in terms of new ways of distributing products, or even storage, yeah, of products and also distribution. Yeah. So the improved technology or technological change, yeah, allows workers to produce more output, yeah, with the same stock of capital goods. Okay. Now, question is, where do technological change come from? Basically, I mean, sometimes we just assume it is there, but it must have been created. So the creation is, ataupun it comes from research and development. Okay, it's either research and development that is done, for example, by the industry itself. This is on industry activities of R&D production, okay, which contribute to the technological change inside the industry, or it could be something that come from outside. In other words, the research and development done by other industries, yeah, in other countries, for example, or yeah, in other countries and so on, which may be what you call adopted or used, yeah. Some may involve cost lah, isn't yeah, direct spillovers into the technological change, or through indirect spillovers itu from extra industry to the R&D of the own industry. So that's those are two sources. But basically, it's research and development. That's the source of technological change. Yeah. So many of these countries, many of those big businesses, big industry, and so on, they have their own, yeah, research and development, yeah, department and so on. Okay, so these are some. I'd like to show you some examples and pictures here. Some of the technological progress, yeah, example in manufacturing, in transportation, what else, in agriculture too, yeah. So the technological progress is often considered the most important source of economic growth, yeah. It results from the use of new and improved ways of accomplishing or doing tasks, yeah, doing jobs. Now, the three basic classification of technological progress. One is the neutral technological progress. The other is saving technological progress. Now, under saving, they have two types. One is the labor saving, and the other is capital saving technological progress. The third one is an improvement, in other words, the augmenting technical progress. Either it is labor augmenting or capital augmenting. Right. So the neutral technical progress. This is where improvement in technology that can increase efficiency of labor. Okay. So this that is neutral technical progress will allow producers to make more or to produce more with less. Yeah. And generally, this will result in lower expenses on a large scale. And on a large scale, it can spur economic growth, can help economic growth. Right? So this occurs when higher output levels are achieved with the same quantity and a combination of factor inputs. Contohnya, examples are innovations in terms of divisions of labor. Yeah, that by just having that system of division of labor, that a person is assigned certain tasks and so on, different people doing different things, but in the end, you have a final product. Shift work also is another innovation, yeah, in terms of labor management, for example, that helps to produce more goods with the same amount of labor, for example, yeah. So it uh, doesn't involve changes in the capital ataupun labor. So in terms of production possibility curve or analysis, doubling of output is conceptually equals to doubling of all productive inputs. Right? Okay, now example tadi, if you use shift, normally before there was any shift work, there is only one shift lah, yeah, in a day, for example. So, but if you use shift, so for example, 24 hours, you can have 3 shifts. So the plant or the factory will run 24 hours instead of close, after 8 or 9 hours. So in other words, it can contribute up to 30% or 300% increase in production with the 3 cycle tadi. Yeah, so the plant ataupun the factory never stop. Yeah? So only the people that change, every 8 hours, for example, to make the plants and so on. Okay, the second one is the saving technology, either labor saving ataupun capital saving. The labor saving technological progress, this is where you can achieve a higher level of output, can be achieved with the same quantity of labor inputs. Yeah, the same labor input you use, but you can produce more with the use of the labor saving technical progress. So products of labor saving include what we can see nowadays: computer, internet facilities, online banking system, and so on. Yeah, tracksters, farm machineries, automated processing machine, and so on and so forth. So many types of labor-saving technology. Right. So nearly what is also important to note is that nearly all technological research conducted in developed countries, yeah, is meant to save labor, ya, untuk mengurangkan pengguna apa nama labor. In other words, more automatic, more machine use of machine, less of human labor. Okay. So the labor saving technology, this is an example lah, yeah. Less use of labor, but you can achieve more in terms of work you get done, yeah, over a period of time. And overall, of course, I will contribute to greater growth in the GDP or the economy. So yeah, so it can be in the agriculture sector, it can be in the manufacturing sector, for example, in automotive industry, and also in food production, and so on and so forth. Okay. The other form of saving technical progress is known as capital saving. By that, we mean it's saving on capital. Yeah, save on capital. Right. So this technology allows producers to produce the same amount of goods or services, but with relatively less capital, kurang capital. Ataupun the other way of looking at it is to achieve a higher level of output with the same amount of capital. So either way, yeah. So this kind of progress results in more efficient, lower cost, labor intensive, yeah, labor intensive methods of production. In other words, it involves higher labor, yeah, more labor to be involved in the production. So it is capital saving, yeah, because the use of capital is less. Yeah, this is more appropriate for the labor abundant developing countries. Yeah, the reason for this is because they have so many people unemployed and so on, so many tenaga pekerja workforce and so on. So if you follow the Western countries or developed countries model using labor saving, then the problem of unemployment will continue, yeah, in this country. So to solve the problem of unemployment, capital saving technology is more appropriate. Yeah. So it is one of the essential ingredients for long-run employment oriented development strategy, yeah, which is suitable for most developing nations with abundant supply of labor. The other form is the augmenting technological progress, and this is basically can also be two forms. The first one is the labor augmenting technological progress. In other words, enhancement lah of labor quality and so on. Yeah. So when the quality or skill of the labor force are upgraded, for example, yeah, through training and so on, through new knowledge of doing things and so on. Yeah. So, for example, assembly line for mass production is just one good example of it. In other words, if you have been to a factory and assembly lines on, it starts from point A and end up at point Y, for example. And along the line, part of the product, yeah, of the goods, for example, are added in or installed until it reaches the last point when the product is completed. Yeah, so everybody contribute to that through the assembly line. Buat kereta tu sebagai contoh, yeah, one example. Buat aircon, if we have seen how aircon units are being manufactured, that's example of a assembly line. Also concept the other thing is the concept of specialization. Yeah? Specializational augmenting technical progress. In other words, this is where each worker is specialized in doing something. Yeah. So that's one way of augmenting labor. Yeah, in terms of technological progress. Okay, so the ideas, this include ideas that increase the amount of output that can be produced by capital. Yeah? So results in more productive use of existing capitals. Example, shift work is also a form of, in a way, it's also a form of labor augmenting as well. Rotating workers on the same machine has to produce more output with the same number of machines. Yeah, there's no increase in capital, physical capital, but just by rotating the workers, you can produce more. Again, the meaning of augment tadi is to improve, to enhance, or increase. Yeah. The other form of augmenting technical progress is the capital augmenting technological progress. This is when using or increasing capital, yeah, increasing capital increases production of goods and services given the same amount of labor input. Okay, so example with FDI or foreign direct investment, with technology transfer or investment in research and development. All of this are a form of capital augmenting technical progress that will lead to higher or better outputs. Yeah, better outputs. Okay. This graph here is just to show you the relationship between the technical progress ataupun technological progress and the growth of capital stock. Okay, so what it means is that you can use technology. With the use technology, you can improve your capital stock. Yeah? So these countries, for example, Japan is the highest among the developed countries in terms of the growth, yeah, the annual rate of technical progress, the usage of technology, yeah, and the increase in the rate of growth of capital. Yeah, so there is a relationship between capital stock and ataupun capital accumulation and technology usage. Yeah. Okay. Again, these are some pictures to show in the field of agriculture, for example, from traditional technology in which the productivity per worker is very low compared to productivity with the use of technology and so on, yeah, which can produce much more per worker per unit time. Okay. Next is to show some of the empirical evidence regarding the impact of technology. We have said generally earlier on that technology will have a positive impact, increase in production and contribute to economic growth. That is generally what the theory says. But evidence from past studies also find some differences among developed and developing countries in terms of the benefits gained from technological progress. Okay, so for example, Pojola, in a paper she wrote and published by United Nations, she was using secondary data based on analysis of several past studies, which involved 39 countries, both developed and developing countries, and using the neoclassical growth model for the analysis. And by the way, these studies are from 1980 to 1995. So that is the one that she, that he or she based her analysis on. So the finding was that the physical capital is a key, yeah, principal thing, key in economic growth in both developed and developing countries. So it is the most important ingredient, yeah, for economic growth, physical capital. However, when it comes to technology, and in this case is information technology capital, found that there are positive and statistically significant for developed countries. In other words, there is a correlation between IT usage or investment and economic growth, but not for developing countries or not for the less developed countries. Okay, in other words, there is no there is no significant correlation between IT investment or usage in less developed countries and economic growth. So this may reflect the fact that developed countries have already built up a major stock, yeah, of physical infrastructure. In other words, they have ready-made physical infrastructure, um, and also human capital, which help to enhance and also amplify the effect of investment in IT. Unfortunately, for the less developed countries, some do not have the proper infrastructure for use of IT in the country, for example. Yeah? So developing countries lack such IT enhancing complementary factors, which make it difficult for these countries to benefit from the modern advances in technology. Okay, so investment specific technological change, therefore, was believed to be behind the important role that physical capital plays in economic growth. Right. Okay. So and in fact, actually, technological progress improves the productivity of all factors of production. Yeah, not just physical capital. In fact, technical progress can improve productivity of labor, yeah, and also capital. In another study by Dewan and Kramer in the year 2000, again, they were doing this based on their using production function to key in the data and do the analysis. They found that internet network development constitute an important pillar for economic growth in the West African Economic and Monetary Union. In other words, these are countries on the western side of Africa. Yeah, and it was found that the internet network development has some positive impact on economic growth. Physical capital, according to the study, is not a source of economic growth for these countries. However, the study has one major weakness, that the study did not include human capital in the production function, in the factor dalam analisis mereka. Yeah, this is probably because investment in IT. This is the reason behind this is that investment in IT or information technology is strongly correlated with investment in human capital. So if they had included human capital as a factor in their analysis, they may have better results, yeah, from that analysis. Okay, another study by the World Bank. Sorry about that. Let me just correct that first. World Bank di sini as World Bank capital B, ya. Okay, so all right. So another study by World Bank in 1998 concluded that information communication technology ataupun ICT plays a very significant role in economic growth. Okay, So information revolution, according to the study, stimulates the creation of new knowledge by giving inventors and innovators access or fast access to knowledge. In other words, the ability to access all this knowledge. Ya, kalau dulu mungkin berbulan-bulan menunggu, now you just have to hook to the internet, get yourself connected and all that, and get the information online. Yeah. So IT is also seen to facilitate the production as well as the distribution of a growing number of goods and services. So it helps in terms of production of this. So variable such as education, openness to trade, and also availability of communication infrastructure, which by the way are three indicators which are related to knowledge, were found to be positively and significantly correlated to GDP growth. All right, so this is proof that communication technology, information and communication technology is also important, critical as well. Yeah, to the growth in the GDP. Yeah. Right. So I mean technology. Yeah, education is part technology as well. Yeah. So basically, that is the second part of the lecture, which I failed to record earlier on. So that's all, guys. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a good weekend. So thank you. Sorry for the for the mistake or the miscommunication that happened before this. As I said in my introduction, I hope it will never happen again in the future. So thank you very much. Have a good time. Yeah, thank you. Okay, bye-bye.